The sun was shining brightly over the rolling hills, casting a warm and golden glow upon the expansive landscape where the story of a man named Jed truly began. He was a simple, honest, and poor mountaineer who spent his days trying to ensure that his family was fed, doing his absolute best with the meager resources available to him in the deep woods. Then, on one fateful and completely unexpected day, while he was out hunting and shooting at some food to bring home to the family table, an incredible thing happened right before his eyes. Up from the deep recesses of the ground came a bubbling crude material, a thick fluid that the world knew as oil, or more colorfully, black gold and Texas tea. Before anyone could truly realize what was happening, old Jed found himself transformed into a millionaire, turning his simple life completely upside down in the most wonderful way. His loyal and enthusiastic kinfolk gathered around him, sharing their excitement and giving him some heartfelt advice, telling Jed that it was time to move away from their old cabin. They strongly suggested that California was the exact place he ought to be to start this grand new chapter of their lives. Without wasting a single moment, they loaded up their trusty old truck with all their earthly belongings and made the long journey until they finally moved to Beverly Hills, a magnificent place filled with beautiful swimming pools, famous movie stars, and a brand new lifestyle for the beloved Beverly Hillbillies. On a beautiful afternoon in this luxurious new neighborhood, the air was filled with laughter and friendly competition as Jethro and Ellie Mae were enjoying themselves in the spacious backyard. Jethro called out playfully, telling Ellie Mae that she just did not want him to beat her in their game, reminding her that he had beaten her all around the backyard earlier, though she quickly countered that he should not think she was really trying her hardest at the time. Right around the same time, Margaret Drysdale was outside with her husband, determinedly announcing to Milton that she was absolutely going to qualify for the exclusive Beverly Hills Jogging Club before he ever did, asserting with great confidence that this time she was really going to beat him to the finish line. The sound of their heavy breathing and rapid footsteps echoed across the lawn, prompting Granny to look out from her porch with a look of pure bewilderment. She listened intently to the strange noises coming from next door and remarked to Jed that it sounded exactly like a scarlet dog panting in the heat. Granny watched closely and exclaimed that the woman was chasing Mr. Drysdale around the backyard, adding that she had actually caught him once before and had stripped him right down to his underwear in the process. Jed looked up from his porch chair, quite puzzled by this explanation, and asked why in the world she would ever do such a thing to her own husband. Granny shook her head knowingly, guessing that she must have done that when she was strangling him, which made Jed even more shocked as he repeated the words with surprise. Granny confirmed her suspicion, noting that his face was completely red, his eyes were bulging out, and his appearance was so frightening that someone could easily use his head for a Halloween decoration. Jed found the entire situation difficult to process, stating that he just could not believe such violence was happening next door, but Granny assured him that he would believe it when he saw his tongue hanging out. She described the poor man as looking like he had hiccuped his liver, urging Jed to come along with her to investigate if he had the stomach for such a wild sight. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fence, Margaret was looking down at her exhausted husband with disappointment, complaining that Milburn was always thinking of himself and asking why he could not have collapsed on the designated walk instead of the grass. She pointed out that those stubborn grass stains would never come out of his clothing, but Milburn could only gasp for air, telling her that she was all hot and that he had a terrible cramp in his muscle. Margaret scoffed at his complaint, asking what muscle he was talking about, and rudely suggesting that he actually had a painful spasm in his flab. Milburn cried out in agony, declaring that Margaret was absolutely killing him with this intense exercise routine. Just at that moment, Jed and Granny rushed over to the fence, with Granny whispering loudly that they had arrived just in time because she believed Margaret was about to grab his other leg and make a wishbone out of the poor banker. Jed, trying to remain calm and reasonable, suggested that maybe it was just some sort of a modern game they were playing, but Granny was not convinced at all. She argued that if it was a game, there was definitely going to be an undertaker keeping the score, and she declared her immediate intention to go over there to intervene. Jed quickly held her back, advising Granny that if Mr. Drysdale ever found out that they had witnessed him in such an embarrassing state, he would never be able to hold up his head in public again. Granny counteracted this by saying that if they did not stop her right now, he was not going to have any head left to hold up at all. She urged Jed to come on, but Jed smiled gently, telling Granny that she did not really want to stop a fight and that she just wanted to get in on the action herself. Granny took offense to this, telling Jed that he had an evil mind, and she pleaded with him to at least let her claim the body because she feared that brute of a woman would bury him in his underwear. Mr. Drysdale, still catching his breath on the ground, tried to calm his wife down, telling her to stop worrying about his immediate physical state. He explained that the only thing truly worrying him was whether or not they would be accepted as members by the prestigious Beverly Hills Jogging Club. He emphasized that all the best and most influential people in the city were members of it, and joining would greatly help them socially in their elite circles. Margaret looked at him skeptically, asking if Milburn always had to have a hidden financial or social angle for everything he did, proudly declaring that she was joining the club strictly for health reasons. Milburn smiled weakly and pointed out that she secretly wanted the wealthy members to put their money into his bank, asking what could possibly be wrong with maintaining a healthy bank. With that, he decided it was time to head to the office to conduct his daily business. Back at the Clampett household, Granny was still pacing around the room, firmly believing that there was only one person to blame for all the apparent violence they had witnessed next door. When Jed asked who that person could possibly be, Granny pointed her finger directly at him and said it was his fault. Jed was taken aback, asking how it could be him, and Granny explained that he had stopped her from scrapping with Miss Drysdale. She argued that nobody ever saw the neighbor acting up like this when Granny was whooping her on a regular basis. Jed sighed and told her to calm down, but Granny insisted on her philosophy, stating that if you spare the rod, you spoil the neighbor. She warned him that this was just the beginning because whooping a man was heady stuff for a woman, predicting that after her husband, she would move on to the postman, the garbage man, and the newspaper boy. Jed maintained his peaceful demeanor, telling Granny that he still had a strong feeling they did not know all the actual facts of the situation. Granny dismissed this, saying she knew one solid fact, which was that they needed to get Ellie Mae and Jethro completely out of this wild neighborhood. She complained that she was sitting there setting a perfect example of meekness, kindness, and Christian forbearance, while that husband-beating hussy next door was tearing down every single good thing she was trying to do. In her excitement, Granny accidentally hurt herself and groaned, causing Jed to comment that if she got any meeker, she was going to break some bones. Granny told him not to make jokes, but her anger quickly vanished when she saw Jethro walking through the door, calling him a sweet darling. Granny welcomed him back, but then she paused and looked at him with great alarm, calling him Auntie Jethro in her confusion, before realizing her mistake and stating it was too late because the poor boy had clearly been bit by the beating bug. She asked if Ellie Mae had beaten him, and Jethro, looking tired, replied that she had beaten him all the way to the airport and back. Granny was horrified, declaring that beating was bad, but Jed told her not to blame the boy, jokingly adding that the sins of the neighbors had been visited unto the children, even unto their underwear. Ellie Mae, who had just walked in behind him, asked what Granny was talking about, and Uncle Jed explained to her that Granny genuinely believed Ellie Mae had torn Jethro's clothes off and given him a physical beating. Ellie Mae laughed and assured Granny that they had not been fighting at all, explaining that they had simply been out jogging together. Jed turned to Granny, asking if she heard that, confirming that they had just been jogging. Granny lifted her hands in dismay, lamenting that her own grandchildren should ever come to such a strange state. She then paused, looked at them blankly, and asked what jogging actually was. Jethro explained that jogging was not anything special, it was just running at a steady pace. He added that it was very good for a person's health and that all the famous movie stars and regular people in Beverly Hills were doing it every single day. He even mentioned that Mr. Drysdale was planning on joining the local jogging club and that Ellie Mae was getting a special outfit just for herself to wear while running. Jethro noted that she was going to wear an outfit that looked just like his own, which caused Jed to ask if Mr. Drysdale went jogging in an outfit just like Jethro's. Jethro confirmed this, asking if Jed had seen him in his backyard, and Jed nodded, saying they had seen him all around the area. Jed then asked Granny if she was finally satisfied with this logical explanation, but Granny firmly replied that she was not. She argued that the banker was far too old for that kind of nonsense, but Ellie Mae chimed in, reminding Granny that it was done entirely for his health. She shared that Mr. Drysdale said jogging lowers your castor oil, which Jed gently corrected, telling her the word she was looking for was cholesterol. Ellie Mae accepted the correction, stating that it had lowered his cholesterol until it was practically dragging on the ground, and she expressed that they should just be happy Mr. Drysdale had finally found an activity to get his mind completely off of money. At the Commerce Bank, however, Mr. Drysdale was singing a completely different tune as he spoke with his faithful secretary, Miss Jane Hathaway. He enthusiastically declared that this idiotic jogging business was going to get him $30 million. Miss Hathaway looked at him with utter disbelief, stating that $30 million sounded completely ridiculous, and asking what he meant. Mr. Drysdale asked her what the name Jason Detweiler meant to her, and she immediately replied with a sum of $30 million. He explained that Jason Detweiler happened to be the president of the Beverly Hills Jogging Club and was well known for being a total physical fitness nut. Miss Hathaway asked what that had to do with him, and Mr. Drysdale explained that this was his ultimate big chance to grab off that massive $30 million account for the bank. He revealed that he happened to know that Detweiler's own current banker, Carl Wagner, would absolutely not go jogging with him under any circumstances. Miss Hathaway pointed out the obvious, reminding the chief that he also happened to know Mr. Wagner was 84 years old and had to walk everywhere with the assistance of a cane. Mr. Drysdale smiled greedily, asking if it was not a beautiful situation, but Miss Hathaway was disgusted by his opportunism, stating that she hoped he would choke on that $30 million. Mr. Drysdale chuckled, remarking that it would be a wonderful way to go. Miss Hathaway then reminded him that fortunately for humanity, justice would prevail because in order to officially join the jogging club, an applicant must present a verified doctor's statement proving they are physically fit. She noted that with his freaky, constantly fluctuating up and down blood pressure, he would never be able to obtain such a medical certificate. Mr. Drysdale grinned and told her that was all she knew about the situation, proudly pulling out a piece of paper and announcing that he had one right there. He handed it to her, telling her to just sign it, but Miss Hathaway was shocked, clarifying that he wanted her to sign it. He told her to just scribble her name right above the line where it said Doctor of Medicine, but she protested vehemently, reminding him that she was not a doctor. Mr. Drysdale dismissed her concerns, arguing that no one in the history of the world had ever been able to read a doctor's actual handwriting anyway, and he urged her to just sign the document. Miss Hathaway stood her ground, stating that she absolutely refused to participate in such a fraud. Mr. Drysdale shrugged it off, saying it was okay because he knew a prominent brain surgeon who would gladly sign it for him. Miss Hathaway asked in disbelief what brain surgeon he could possibly know.